The GEEK Files, 2026, April 11th. Transventure Airways, fall of 88, spring of 92. So, I'm standing there one day talking to the freight forwarder. His office had windows on three sides of his office that you could look right out onto the airport. And this Saberliner flies in and stops. The stairway, the door stairways, comes down, and these three guys in dark suits and dark sunglasses and slicked back hair, black hair, step out. And they look pretty Italian. And Roland pulls up. Now, Roland is the husband of Donna. Donna was one of the waitresses at the restaurant Wrangle Inn. I can't remember what it was called, where we ate. So the Transprovincial wouldn't let us buy our own food. We had to eat at the restaurant. Well, they would, but it was insanely hard to get reimbursed for any food you bought outside the restaurant. So we ate at the restaurant attached to the hotel, and Donna was one of the waitresses. Donna was on the hefty side. She lived one block away from the restaurant and drove a very large car to work every day, saying if God wanted me to walk, he wouldn't have invented cars. Roland was her husband. So I thought that was just really strange, because here comes Roland, and he picks in his Bronco or whatever and picks up these three very Italian-looking gentlemen and drives away. And I look at the freight forwarder and go, what's the story here? These guys look like they belong to, some guys back in New York. He says, yeah. The story was that Roland was the sheriff or some government official in one of the north, like in Washington or Oregon or something, and was associated with, the boys, and did time for them. And so what they did for him when he got out was set him up in Wrangell to distribute liquor to bars, good cash business. And they set him up out of Wrangell, and part of that was they bought a fishing boat. I'll remember, but it was one of the really good offshore fishing boats, 30-foot boat. And they would come up once a year, and Roland would take them fishing. I was talking to Donna about this. This thing is a Hatteras, it wasn't a Hatteras, but it was one of these, boats you use for marlin fishing. These 32, 35-foot boats you use for offshore marlin fishing. And so one day, she talked to Roland about it one day when Roland was in town, and the weather was, we couldn't fly into Joni Mountain or the Snip, because the weather there was just horrible. Roland took us out fishing, and we went out fishing for the first time for halibut. And fishing for halibut is pretty easy. You put a bit of bait on a hook with a big lead weight, and you drop it to the bottom of the ocean, and you pick it up by a foot, and you wait, and you just drift on the current. So one of the guys, God, I gotta remember who was with it, with the little short guy, little skinny guy from Kitimat was with us. His name escapes me right now. But he gets a bite, and he starts reeling this thing up and reeling this thing up and reeling this thing up. And it's what they call a tennis racket halibut, which is like 5 feet long. And this kid is like 5'5", and so this fish is almost as big as him. And we dress it out. It's 100 pounds of meat. And I'm just like, when this thing came up, I'm looking at Roland, going like, can we just cut the line and let it go back down? Because I'm used to pike and pickerel, and a big lake trout is like, 15 pounds. No, this thing dresses out at 100 pounds. I mean, what are you going to do with 100 pounds of fresh cut halibut? It's just like, yeah. So up, and then I can't remember what I caught, but it was like 4 feet. I wound up giving the meat away. But, and these things are dangerous because, this thing is, they're almost as wide as they are long. And so when this thing comes up, Roland picks up this .22 rifle and starts shooting it in the head to get it to stop moving. And then they tie it. They put a rope through the gills to the tail in the back of the boat, and they tie it head to tail in this U shape. So if it tries to flop around, all it can do is rock, because these things will break your leg if they flop around. Yes. Yeah, my one and only time fishing for halibut, it was just like, yeah, no, can we just let this thing go back to where it came from? Yeah. So yeah, making appropriate life decisions. You don't make any money, but you get good stories.